Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast in this reality. The show designed to challenge everything we've been taught. If you've ever felt there had to be more to life, more to existence, then you're listening to the right podcast. Time to open your mind and dive in. This is the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentle fellers, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. The past few weeks, we've been talking about energy. We've been talking about perception. We've been talking... Actually, I shouldn't say the past few weeks. Since the beginning of time. I should start doing narrations for the movies in a world. We used to have fun with that one back in the 90s. Back when movie trailers set the tone for the whole thing. What the hell am I talking about? So, today's an interesting one because throughout the course of my life and throughout the course of my experiences and what I've grown through and who I'm becoming, I've decided that there is no good or evil. Maybe I didn't decide it. Maybe it was put into my head and maybe I just accepted it and or embraced it as a truth of my own. I don't know. I don't know where my thoughts come from. I don't know where my perceptions come from. I don't know why I can do certain things that others can't. Best I can assume, it was all the mushrooms I ate in high school. The access to psychedelics, the access to your pineal gland opening up your third eye. I don't know. I don't know what separates me. What I do know, however, is it's like a snowball effect. It started, and it's been rolling down the hill ever since it started. And I can't unsee the things that I've seen. Just like I can't unlearn the things that I've learned. I can take the things that I've learned, erase what I like and don't like, or merge into separate thoughts, separate entities, proper extrapolate, to figure out something more. The whole if this then that is something that I absolutely adore because there's so much truth in there and there's so much new knowledge in personal extrapolation. A lot of people will tell you that you can't extrapolate beyond a certain point because you are now just making shit up. And the funny thing about that statement is every single thing that you're taking in information-wise from the television is fucking made up. For the most part, it's made up. It's somebody else's story. But there's some sort of connection to it. There's some sort of belief in it. Well, the scientists have told me, so I need to bring it in, as opposed to, like, where the fuck are we getting this knowledge from? Where are we getting this? Why do you blindly believe the television? You know, and I'm not saying that you do, the listener. I'm saying that we were trained to. And even when we think past and beyond it, that's still a problem. That's still something that we're thinking about. We're still fundamentally rooted in the belief that our parents know what's best, or that our boss is somehow more in tune with what's going on than we are. This idea that we can put somebody else either in charge or free ourselves from the idea that we have to take control of our own actions in our own world. In what world does somebody have so much more knowledge than you that they can tell you how to live your life? Right? Think about this. The government is out there giving you a credit score. Meanwhile, they're billions of dollars in debt because money's fucking trash. Yet we don't want to talk about that. We want to talk politically about left versus right. Yet we don't want to talk about abolishing the entire system because, well, that's just absurd. We can't do that. And if you think you can, you're crazy. But this is the thing. There is no good or bad. Every single thing that takes place, I look at all of this and I'm not like, oh, this is bad. This is real bad. No, this is a situation, an opportunity in a position that you find yourself in that allows you to be like, okay, because of this, now I'm going to become this. Or I'm going to step into this, or I'm going to do this. We are surrounded by NPCs, and at some point, we ourselves were NPCs. Now, there's the energy vampires. There's fear involved in this. I mean, it's just a wild thing. Like, fear isn't an emotion; it's a control mechanism. And the people around you, some of them are amplifiers of that fear without even knowing it. It's like, if you're going to listen to somebody who's constantly going to shit on you or constantly going to be negative to you, and then stare at you with those eyes that are like, I'm just trying to help. Well, no, the fuck you aren't, Susan. Or Karen, or whoever else we're going to start using names for, because we got to keep changing up these names. I can't keep using the same name. I feel bad for all the Susans out there listening to the show. I'm not ripping on you. You're beautiful people. I could not interject my thoughts. Let's just put it that way. Even though it seems like I am right now in this podcast. My thoughts aren't implicit. And this is one of the problems that I have with all of society right now. There are people who believe the mainstream narrative, who force it down your throat, and it's tripe. There are people who believe the conspiracies and force them down your throat, and they're just as bullshit as the mainstream narrative. You want to talk to me about flat Earth? There are problems with flat Earth. What flat Earth does, however, is allude to, or not allude to, it pokes holes in globe Earth. And in a court of public opinion, or a court of law, reasonable doubt is enough to acquit. And what flat Earth does is creates reasonable doubt in globe Earth. 100%. But if you don't have the ability to think that way, then anyone who could be sharing knowledge with you about certain things that could lead to future thoughts that you may have that would equate to your liberation from the prison system / matrix in which we currently inhabit, well, it's not a bad thing. And the prison system itself isn't a bad thing. You're tethered until you can fly. And when you can fly, the game changes. Everything changes, and it's supposed to change. Could you imagine living your entire life being afraid of everything? And doing your absolute best to succeed and overcome and challenge and face all these things and say to yourself, I did real well for myself. I've amassed this, that, and the other thing. I've lived my entire life in fear. Imagine what you could have done had you just shut the fuck up and not been afraid of absolutely everything. Or imagine how crazy life would be if you were unafraid of absolutely everything and then you just jumped off cliffs and you flew. Oh, wow. Or you splat. Well, now I have to worry about, I can't go swimming with the sharks, Adam, because I'm afraid of the sharks. Ladies and gentlemen, two things in that statement. The only reason you're afraid of the sharks is because you've been watching television. Sharks, for the most part, don't give a shit about humans. They don't want to have anything to do with it. Oh, but there's the off chance you could get bit. Hell, I could get in trouble for saying it's okay to swim with the sharks. So I can't even say that because of the programming. Because one person got bit. So yeah, something with that much teeth, maybe you shouldn't go swimming with. Maybe you shouldn't. But if you're trained, if you know what you're doing, if you're a quick swimmer, if you can duck a shark, go for it. I would never fight a bear, but I've seen Russians do it. There's a story to everything. Every single thing. I used to pride myself on being able to tell a story and being like, but the person's going to say this and think that and do this. And now the absurdity is everywhere. So every single story you could ever possibly tell, there's somebody out there that's got a counter to it and a reason why you can't. And the funny thing is, for somebody with my brain, probably most people with ADHD, you can say whatever it is you have to say, and then you can think of the 42 counters that are going to come from your opposition or any other essence. So what are we supposed to think? That these people who are going to oppose you and anything that you do are smarter than you? Why on earth do we do that? To those who can think freely and openly, and to those who operate with purity and kindness and integrity constantly, why on earth do we think that anyone who wants to either cancel us or shut us down, and we know full well that the entirety of cancel culture is operated and based on fear. These people aren't saying, don't say this because it offends me. They're saying, don't say this because I'm self-righteous and I'm defending somebody who's not in the room. This whole Sydney Sweeney thing is a prime example of that. I personally don't think any of it's real. I don't think the outrage is real. Who the fuck is outraging over somebody in jeans? We're not allowed to think about that. We're only supposed to side with it. Oh, well, Lizzo doesn't like it and Beyonce did the same thing and they're majestic. But Sydney Sweeney's a terrible person. She's a Nazi. Not see that coming. And nobody wants to ask why. And the people who do ask why are ostracized. So my question then becomes, or my question comes full circle, I should say. And we find ourselves in a situation where if you have questions about absurdity, about outrage, about anything, you tend to back off. Because A, you don't want to be canceled, this, that, anything. But how come there is the entirety of everyone who opposes you because you have clean and free thought? They're free to say and do all of the horrible things that they want to do publicly or online or anything like that. They can accuse you of anything. They can chirp you. They can run their mouths. They can report you, and that's fine. But if you stand up for yourself, you're the bad guy. You can be canceled. You can be shut down. What gives these other people the right? And how come they've got the balls to be like, I'm 100% right about this, and you're totally wrong? How come those who only watch the news or those who only participate in a certain frequency, how come they've got the balls to shit on you? Meanwhile, you, who are doing all of the free thinking that you can do, are hesitant to speak up. Isn't it fascinating that those who should be speaking up are afraid to speak up because the powers that be, the system that exists, the NPCs that are out there are programmed to shut you down? Is it a bad thing? Is it a negative thing? I don't think so. I think that this exists because if somebody has the ability to shut you down, then you have the ability to perceive their actions and perceive your actions in a way that would be counterintuitive to their actions. In other words, it gives you the opportunity to be more, I would say, at peace or more in resonance with prosperity, with proper action, with integrity. And then you get to watch these other people without integrity run their mouths, chirp, 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 and often win because they're all literally part of the system. I don't have all the answers, obviously, and nor would I even begin to state them. But those who say you can't say this because I believe in the liberal narrative are vile people. Right? But that's the whole intent of this division, this conflict. You're supposed to be like, oh crap, if I say this, I'm going to piss off this person or this, that, or the other thing. The funny thing, like I said before, is those who are out there pissing everybody off without batting an eye, where do they get their self-righteousness from? How come we can't have a touch of that? How come I can't walk up to say somebody, say something so fucking absolutely absurd and just be like, I have every right to say this to you, and you need to curtail to what I believe. I need you to do what I need you to do. In what world and why is it that we, the free thinker, the person, why do we back down? Why are we pre-programmed to be like, fuck, I don't want to rock the boat? And even if we do want to rock the boat, they've got these systems in place where if you speak back, if you say anything, all of a sudden you're spreading misinformation, you're this, that, the other thing, or whatever the hell it is. You're being shut down. They're free to do whatever they want, and you are being shut down. The reason I bring this up again is simply because there are systems in place. These systems are designed to keep you quiet. These systems shrink down into not just the internet, but family members or close friends or people that you've grown next to and or with that don't have the ability to think. And I'm not knocking them because they're everywhere. They're family members, they're brothers and sisters and moms and dads. These people are important people in your life. But just like every NPC, they've only got a certain amount of answers. And then anything beyond that you ask them, they become an anchor. So he who once was your sail rapidly becomes an anchor if you outthink them. And to me, the whole purpose of existing is to grow mentally. But not to everybody. Some people are just so locked into the idea that you need to get a job. You need to work 9 to 5 and make your $25 an hour and hope everything's okay. Well, that's not problem solving. That's doing as you're told. That's accepting your role as a peasant. But then we tie so much value into money and this and that and status. Every single person I know that's got all the money in the world right now is doing everything they can to defend it because the powers that be are even screwing with those who did everything they were supposed to do. And you know how they're doing it? It's called inflation. Doesn't matter how much money you save. If a loaf of bread goes from a nickel up to $10, well, shit, your money ain't worth nothing. So how do we defend it? How do we worry about it? How do we get stuck in a position where the NPCs must protect the money? It's a system. It's a system at play that's constantly messing with everybody. But this is the main thing. You know, we have this idea of safety. We have this idea of being good enough. We have this idea of all this sort of stuff. And the funny thing about this very system is they're gonna trick you into all of that. They're gonna rip apart your safety. They're gonna rip apart the fact that you think that you're not good enough. How many super intelligent people don't speak up because they don't think they've done enough research? They don't think they've got enough information on the subject that they want to speak on. Meanwhile, somebody over there with pink hair has watched an episode of Perez Hilton and they're going to tell you exactly what it is and they're going to speak emphatically as if they happen to know. And so now you're left to observe. You're observing the fact that you don't want to speak because you don't want to come across as pompous. But they want to speak, and it's almost unfair. The mainstream narrative thrives on fear. You're not safe. You're not enough. Buy this. Vote for that. Or else. Conspiracy theories are often the opposite. They point at what's hidden. But both can be traps if they keep you frozen. The amount of videos that I've seen that start with watch this before they pull it down, or the video that Doug Ford doesn't want you to see. These people are doing this intentionally. The conspiracy theories are just as bad. I'm seeing a huge influx now of videos. All of a sudden, in 2025, there's a ton of new videos of 9/11. All kinds of new angles that just randomly showed up 24 years later. Or is it possible that enough information has been fed into AI that they can create whatever the hell they want to create to push out a narrative? Well, what's the point, they would say? Why would they do this? Why would they do that? Well, multiple reasons why they would do it. If they keep you locked in fear, you're not going to move forward. If you believe it's real, you're not going to move forward. If you take the time to argue it and get lost in its energy, you're not going to move forward. The idea that some people can be trapped by the mainstream narrative and not move forward. And some people can be trapped by conspiracies thinking they have moved forward, but they're not moving forward. Multiple layers of NPCs exist all around you. And for those of you who are listening to this show, I can only assume that you are part of the awakening majority. You may have been an NPC. I can think back to the stupid shit that I did when I was an NPC. My memory is foggy at best, but it exists there. And there's a piece of me that's like all part and parcel with all of it. So when somebody says to me, maybe you should try this, or maybe you should do this, or maybe you're not good enough. There's a piece of me that says, maybe I'm not good enough. I've been doing this for years. I've been coaching for years. I've been challenging myself and pushing my own narrative and creating a space for myself where I feel happiest. No self-employed person ever works a small amount. But every single person, not every single person, but there are a handful of people in my life that are constantly telling me I'm not good enough. There are a handful of people in my life that are thanking me and praising me and saying, thank you for all the work that you do, and thank you for what you've done, and thank you for this, that, and the other thing. And I can attest to you, your biggest fan is not somebody you know. This is a meme. It's out there. It's in the ethos. Your biggest fan is a perfect stranger on the internet that you've helped with something because of your mindset, because of the way you think, because of the fact that you decided you wanted to share. And your biggest critic is your mother, is your sister, is your brother, is your best friend. Because these people saw you as a child and they can't see you moving into the newness. And even if they can see you, they feel that you're leaving them behind and they want to anchor you. And the worst part is they don't even realize they're doing it because it's just part of the programming. So seeing past the programming is a bit of a curse. Or it's liberating. Either way, it's lonely as shit. Because all of the people that you would love to have conversations about with certain things don't have the ability to talk to you. On top of that, they only want to ridicule you and make you do all of the things that they are doing. And these are the things that you've already grown through. And this is the worst part about this for those who are free thinkers. You're in a spot right now where everything that you've known, you know is not working for you. And that's the reason you're stepping into purpose. But until you find out what purpose is for yourself, as much as you want to believe that you know, because we were trained to believe that we're supposed to know everything right away. I'll tell you this, a lot of coaches that I know that started and then didn't continue had the very belief that they needed to know everything and that they needed to be perfect to get going. How many people out there shit on one of those coaches and that coach stopped doing what they were doing because somebody with a small fucking mind decided they weren't good enough to have an opinion? And that person with a small mind never even thinks of the future. They're not thinking of anything other than the very sentence that they're saying at that moment in time. I'm going to shit on you right now without even batting an eye because it doesn't matter to me because I'm not thinking about anything. And then I'm going to go eat an apple and maybe take a nap because this is part of my day. Meanwhile, the overthinker / free thinker runs through their head a billion different scenarios because of that one sentence that somebody said to them. And then the weak ones, sadly, are like, maybe I'm not good enough. Now we have that duality, good versus evil. Well, the weak ones should be washed out anyway. I disagree with that. I think that you should be able to step into purpose. Now, granted, there are weak coaches out there. So I can say there are some people out there that shouldn't be coaching. And they do find their way out. These are often egoic-based coaches that don't have the ability to think outside the box. So it's like being coached by an NPC. It's the same thing as being told what to do by somebody who never set foot in your shoes. So again, 6 of one, half dozen of another. I hate to see good people go down. And the truth of the matter is, the more people push against me, the more fired up I get. So is it bad? It sucks. It sucks that you don't have the ability to have these conversations. But because you don't have the ability to have these conversations, you find other ways to converse, which is the genesis of this podcast. The majority of my life and certainly the majority of my awakening, I had nobody to talk to. I went through all of this on my own, completely on my own. And not only did I go through this on my own, every single person that I came up with that stopped being able to think or that I outthought or what have you, and I'm not trying to say that in any sort of vanity, I'm saying that I went as far as I could with a certain group of people, and then I had to go out on my own. And again, these kites that were once there to help you become anchors because they don't have the ability to converse with you the way you want to converse. They also feel like you're leaving them behind. In other words, if they can anchor you back in, you won't abandon them mentally, physically, whatever it is. So now you're living in detriment to the mindset of somebody who cannot think on the same levels as you. And societally, those who don't have the ability to think on the same levels of you also have the ability to chirp you publicly, social media, whatever it is. So even perfect strangers can mess with you, but it's not the perfect strangers because these people are NPCs. This is the experience. The experience, the mirrors, everything we notice in others is just a reflection of something within us. If we're drained, it's showing as a boundary issue. If we're annoyed, it's showing us where we're still plugged into the script. NPCs are the backdrop against which we see our own growth. Without them, we wouldn't recognize our own main character moments. So as much as you want to shit on these people, as much as it seems like I am very animated this episode, maybe I had too many cups of coffee, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. So even without them, it's like it's terrible to think all of these terrible things that are happening. Oh no, why won't people see me the way I want to be seen? They help you become better versions of you. They help you see yourself the way you need to be seen. And eventually, you love the NPCs for what they are. And eventually, you get to a point where you're like, I don't need your opinion. But I understand you don't even have the ability to not give it. You're so pre-programmed that you need to shit your negative rhetoric out to either make yourself feel better or to believe that you're helping in some way, shape, or form. Maybe that's the perspective. As the observer of somebody who's constantly being shit on, or the observer, the victim of verbal diarrhea, you realize that every ounce of negativity shot your way, every ounce of doubt becomes fuel to your fire. So when you sit there and every single day you're trying to move forward, you're trying to step into purpose, you're trying to find out where you're going, when this world anchors you, when this world pulls you back, when this world fucks with you to the point where you're like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, I can attest to you that you're doing the right thing. Because if you weren't, this world wouldn't be using its NPCs to withdraw and to pull you back. And again, that sounds negative. It sounds like it doesn't want you to accelerate. But you can't fire an arrow without pulling it back first. So even though the world seems like a negative, like it's trying to hurt you, it's making you a more acute version of yourself to be able to handle what's going on externally, further externally, expanding externally into your great future, your great ethos, your great everything. And the greatest thing in the entire world is when you're surrounded by all of these people who perpetually want to tell you you're not good enough without saying you're not good enough, well, guess what? Your skin gets so thick that moving into your future, every single person that comes to you for whatever reason on any level whatsoever, you find yourself in a position to want to help them, to say a kind word, to praise them. And one tiny ounce of praise will overtake 8 years of negativity. Granted, that seems a bit harsh, that seems a bit daunting to say that. But when you're so used to negativity and bullshit and anchoring and being pulled back, that when somebody looks at you and says, hey, I respect what you're doing, I appreciate what you're doing, you're like, fuck yes. Now we're on par. Now we're moving somewhere. That to me is massive. And nothing changes until you acknowledge what's really happening. Awareness. Oh, I'm drained because I gave my energy away. That acknowledgement is where sovereignty begins. From there, you can stop reacting and start creating. Fear only owns you when you don't see it. When you're oblivious to the fact that these people are coming at you the way they are, these NPCs. And I'm not saying there's an individual person who's attacking you, because there isn't. Because in this experience, there are moments and there is essence and there is challenge and growth and overcoming and all of this fun stuff. And when you witness the world around you do what it's doing, you can say to yourself, they're trying to hurt me or they're trying to help me. And either way, either perspective you choose to use, you're 100% correct. So it really boils down to how you want to perceive you moving forward. And if these anchors are too much for you, that's another challenge for you to be like, I need to prepare myself for what comes next. And to some people, I know some beautiful people that have gone through divorces recently. Because as much as they want things to be the way they are, one member isn't growing. And every single person that I know that got married in their 20s is divorced, minus maybe one couple. And that is an external visual representation of exactly what I'm talking about. In your 20s, what do you want to do? You want to lock somebody down and get married and spend the rest of your life with somebody? At 20, I couldn't even commit to a pair of shoes or a city to live in or a job to have. All I knew is I wanted to experience absolutely everything as much as I possibly could everywhere at all times. And it was almost a trauma response to my youth being like, don't do this, don't do that, sit down, shut the fuck up, don't make a noise. I come from a family where children were meant to be seen-ish and never heard. We were a burden. So as I moved into my 20s, I'm like, I want to see everything. And for a moment, I had a father who was a narcissist, but a fantastic dude at times. And he would tell me that I could do anything. I could achieve anything. Imagine coming from a situation where every word out of the parental unit's mouth was, sit down, shut up, be quiet, don't watch that, don't do that, don't eat that, don't do this, don't do that. And then some people will say, well, they were just trying to save you and help you and do their thing. No, they're handing you the limitations. They say fat parents have fat kids because of genetics. That's bullshit. Fat parents have fat kids because of eating habits. Rich parents don't have rich kids because of financial genetics. Rich parents, read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Rich parents teach their kids different habits than poor parents. People who live in scarcity teach different habits than people who live in prosperity. People who live in abundance. You live in an abundance mindset, whether you got $10 in your pocket or $1 billion in your pocket, you're going to have a good day. You live in a scarcity mindset, whether you got $10 in your pocket or $1 million in your pocket, you're going to have a bad day. You're going to wonder why you had a bad day. So I say all this. We have our fear, we have our narratives, we have our NPCs. They only have power when you don't recognize them for what they are. Once you acknowledge all of the boundaries, all of the programs, the fear, the narratives, the NPCs, once you acknowledge them all, they can't control you. They can really only strengthen you. So change in and within you comes first with acknowledgement. After that, everything shifts. And you have the ability to step more into purpose, knowing that because this universe is trying to hold you back, and it's either using a car or a person or this or that, understanding that they're trying to quote unquote hold you back becomes a whole different meaning when you realize holding you back is sharpening your skills, is making you better, is giving you some sort of fire to step more into purpose. It breaks some people, it shakes some people off, but to those who were meant for more, it sets you on fire. So to every person that ever held me back or told me I couldn't, which if I think back to it was basically my entire life. And then somebody could say to me right now, oh, well, if everyone was saying the same thing about you, maybe you were the problem. And I'm going to say unequivocally, I was the problem. I think about things differently. I do not like the schooling system because I did not want to be forced into repetition. Grade 1 through 12 teaches you nothing but how to exist in society the way they want you to exist, and how to repeat the shit they forced you to memorize. In other words, how good are you at being brainwashed with our bullshit? Don't worry about your education. Don't worry about that. It's more of an indoctrination than anything else. So yeah, I was the problem. And yeah, I'm going to continue to be the problem. I'm going to disrupt the world as I step more and more into purpose. And I suggest you do the same. Even though the very world you're stepping against has all the power, all the liberals on social media can say, oh, this person's blah, blah, blah. I don't like your opinion. I don't like your stance. I don't like what you're saying. I don't like that you're engaged in free thought. So I'm going to challenge you. And it's getting so absurd right now that you can't ignore it. I mean, think about this, ladies and gentlemen. The world wants you to believe right now that everyone's mad because a white woman named Sydney Sweeney wore blue jeans. This is what North America is fighting about right now. And at the same time, you, the free thinker, are led to believe that you're the pariah, that you're the bad person, that you're the one that's creating and causing this problem. Society wants you to believe that you're the cow farts in global warming. The cows are killing the universe. Oh, the cows. Hoaxes and scams and shams and fear and NPCs abound. And who's right in the middle deflecting all of them? You are. And who sees you doing it? those who need to see you, and more specifically, you. So I tell you this, and I end this episode on this note. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep operating with the purest of integrity, and let those that want to shit on you shit. And thank them for not being able to see anything beyond their nose. And thank them for showing you through negative connotations that you're on the right path. That you're the powerhouse that this universe needs to use its NPCs to attempt to control. I thank you. The universe quietly thanks you, even though it challenges you. But we're in this together. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to reach out to me, hit me up. Adam at the Mental Mastery Alliance. Ladies and gentlemen, in the infamous words of Red Green, keep your stick on the ice.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Stay connected with us directly through the mentalmasteryalliance.com. You can also join the discussion on Instagram at instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag TMMA or tagging us at the Mental Mastery Alliance. To have your voice heard on the show, leave a voicemail or send a text to 647-338-1265. Long distance charges may apply. If you love us, leave us a review. If you hate us, you spend your time in weird ways, but also leave a review. Every review on iTunes tickles the algorithm, helping us grow. Until next time, unity over division. This concludes the most surreal portion of your day.
You got it, Pontiac.